Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Dorit, your host. This is the show where we talk all about your journey as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, your evolution as a human being who is learning about herself. It's a process of self-discovery, of understanding your human design, understanding what are the things that you are coded for as a woman and as a mother. You are here because most likely you are a mom, you're raising kids, and most of you guys are actually mothers of daughters just like me, and so this is really cool. So we are on this path and journey together. Today on a podcast, I wanted to talk about money. I know it's kind of like, what do you mean money? How is that related to health? So it's actually, it has a lot to do with our health, especially in the context of value and the things that we tell ourselves that we can't afford. So as I connect with women, as my practice grows, I hear this all the time. Women are really in pain. Some of them have really inconvenient PMS pain, menstrual pain, lower back pain. Others actually had cancer previously in their lives. Various kinds of, discomfort throughout the entire body. Everybody has ailments in different areas of the body, and you guys already know that I always like to look at the mind-body connection, which is, it's an episode it's a topic for a different episode. But every single time I, at the end of my conversation with these women, when we get to the money area, because all of them ask me, okay, so how can I work with you? How does it look like to work with you? And when I share the investment that they have to make in themselves, there's going to be this huge no, and that is obviously it's resistance, and it's coming from, I think, after I remember being that person myself who would say no to things immediately without really, thinking deeper about them. I would just say no. And the reason is because, it could be different things. I believe that when you're ready, the teacher will appear. So when the student is ready, there is a saying like that. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So many of us are, growing and evolving, and we're constantly looking and searching for something. And at that point, when we're ready for something, that is when that teacher, that leader, that coach, that guide will appear. Because you're going to manifest that, because your attention is going to be on that, whatever it is, and you are just going to attract it into your life. But in many cases also, that which you need the most, because it's new to you and you've never done it before, the brain also will translate that as a risk, as something that will potentially kill you, right? And so when it comes to that question of not feeling safe, every single cell of the body will give you this reaction of no, right? And so then what many of these women tell me is that, I'm sorry, it's been a really nice conversation, but I really cannot afford it. And I really, I need to talk to my husband. And I understand that. Again, I don't say it because, from a place of judgment. Of course not. The only reason I share it is because what you're really saying no to is to yourself. It's not to me. It's not to anybody else. What you really is saying no to is to yourself. Because if if for some reason you and I connected, if for some reason, or it's not even me, it could be anybody else who you seek out, you've kind of manifested, you've attracted into your life, and you are at the point of, getting into this energetic transaction of exchanging transaction. There's a lot of risk involved, and a lot of fear, of course. But at the end of the day, when it comes to money, all money it's just an energetic transaction. And if you constantly tell yourself no, and kind of like just deny yourself, or you don't invest in yourself, you don't try new things, you don't kind of constantly challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone, you're going to stay stagnant. And stagnation doesn't feel good. And in many cases, those ailments, those, the discomfort in the body, the dis-ease of the body, it's just, like I always say, guys, on this podcast, it's a way of our body to communicate and ask something of us. So never look at this ease as something that is a punishment. It's always something, and I know that it requires a lot of, kind of like seeing the bigger picture, but it's always, your body is always in support of you. It is never against you. And so I wanted today, it's going to be short, but I want you to really think and ponder about this. When you say no, or you say, I cannot afford it, what can't you afford? What really is that you're saying no to? Are you saying no to yourself? Are you saying no to possibility? To a new version of you? Are you saying no to a new way of seeing your life? Trying new techniques? Trying a new way to heal yourself? What is it that you're saying no to? What is it that you cannot afford? Because let me tell you this. Every single time I have to invest money into learning, into my business, into growing my business, every single time I know and I feel every cell of my body saying, no, I can't afford it. It's too much. It's too much. Like, for example, right now, I am in the process of hiring a business coach who will teach me how to, launch my business, how to launch my program. And it costs thousands of dollars, thousands. But I also know that I've been doing this long enough. For me to say that I can't afford it, what is it that I'm saying no to? In my case, it would be saying no to growing my business. I'm saying no to sharing this message and bringing this message to more women and moms and even daughters. And so what is it that I'm saying no to? Right? So now I completely, I think about money and, if I can afford, or whether I can afford or cannot afford anything, from a really different perspective. It's never, oh, I can't afford that. Oh, I could never, do that. That's a luxury. That's something that, somebody else does. It's not for me. I no longer, I'm not going to say never because I definitely was that person in the past, but I have a different perspective on it now. Now it's really about, is this going to get me closer to my goal, or is it going to keep me further away from it, right? And so ask yourself this question. You're saying you're on the call with somebody. You've done you've done the work, you've reached out, you've filled out an application, you've booked a call, whatever it is, you've done that already. That came from something. It came from a place of searching, from a place of hope, from a place of being curious in regards to new possibilities. And so that moment when you have to invest, right? I mean, think about it. If you are going to get something out of a process, you need to have some skin in the game. If you don't invest, if you don't, and in our culture, that exchange happens through through money, right? It's a monetary exchange. So that kind of give and take, it has to happen, because if not, then it's almost like it's not going to be a win-win, and the energy is not going to be equal. It's not going to be flowing in an equal way, right? So somebody is giving, somebody has created something that you need, and so that person is giving it to you. But if you are not being reciprocal, then first of all, that person is not going to feel rewarded for their hard work. But also your highest self knows that you are not going to be feeling of high integrity when you are consuming something that you didn't invest in, right? And so that is actually of highest benefit and service to you too. Coaching, I know that in the coaching world, I mean, some coaches charge more, some coaches charge less. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what you really are buying is the message that person brings. There's something contagious about that person. You just want to be aligned with that person. You just want to constantly to be around that person. You want, it's like it's a magnet, right? That message that somebody is sharing, you want to hear more of that. You want to bring yourself closer to that person, and you want to be led by them, right? Because at the end of the day, we all need leaders. And so in order for that transaction to be complete and to feel complete, the financial investment has to be there. And so my message to you today is really think about, it doesn't really matter what it is that you are paying for. And think about this. Anything good that you have had to be sold to you, right? Whether it's your car, your house, your clothes, your food. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to survive, right? You need stuff. And so, selling or, that buy and sell kind of transaction, it's always around that. Let me give you another example. I'm going to give you an example, a very recent example from my parents' life. So my mom and my dad, they really wanted to redo their kitchen. And so their desire to get the kitchen done was stronger than to not have debt, because they didn't necessarily have the money lying there in their bank. They knew that they will have to take a line of credit in order to finance that. And so you see how there's always this kind of scale that you have to kind of wait, and you always kind of wonder, can I do this? Can I afford it? Can I not afford it? And in this example, for example, my parents knew that they cannot afford it, but somehow they manifested the money. They made it happen. Now, when you're investing in yourself, it is different, because you are your greatest asset. You and your health are the big rocks of your life. What do I mean by rocks? Well, You've probably heard or read about the rock, pebbles, and sand story. It is usually told in the context of time management and business, but today I'm going to infuse it into your life and help you see yourself as the creator of your life that you are. Because in most cases, we women, we are the ones who bring the message of health, of healing, of connection, prosperity, inspiration, and motivation into our home. And what I want you to do is to imagine your life as a jar. So this story goes like this. The story is basically a metaphor. It's an experiment a philosophy professor once did in his classroom. So he basically took an empty mason jar and he filled it up with big rocks. I think there were 5. And then he asked his students if they think that the jar is now full. And seeing that there's no more room for rocks, all students said yes. Then the professor took pebbles and put them into the jar on top of the big rocks. And the pebbles fell in between the big rocks. So then the professor asked the students again if the jar is full or not. And they all said yes. So then he took sand and he spilled it on top of the big rocks and the pebbles, and the sand found its way in between them and filled the jar now completely. So then the professor went to explain that the jar represents everything that is in one's life. The rocks they represent the most important projects and the things that you have going on in your life, such as spending time with your family and maintaining proper health. This means that if the pebbles and the sand were lost, the jar would still be full and your life would still have meaning, right? The pebbles, they represent the things in your life that matter, but that you could totally live without. The pebbles are certainly things that give your life meaning, such as your job, your house, your hobbies, your friendships, but they are not critical for you to have a meaningful life. These things often come and go and are not permanent or essential to your overall well-being. Finally, the sand represents the remaining filler things in your life and material possessions. This could be small things such as watching TV or running errands or scrolling on social media, or sleeping too much, or drinking too much, or eating too much. These things don't mean much to your life as a whole and are likely only done to waste time or get small tasks accomplished. So now think about this. How many of us fill up our jars with the sand and pebbles first? So much so that there is no room left for the big rocks. So I encourage you to go back into your journal and ask your inner wise mother, what are your 5 big rocks? These rocks may represent a project you want to accomplish, spending time with your loved ones, maybe spending time with your faith, cultivating spirituality, focusing on your education, or maybe mentoring other people. Your top 5 big rocks need to go into the jar first, or else they will never get in at all. This could also be called your top highest values, right? I spoke about this a couple of episodes ago. For me, for example, they are number 1, having a clear personal space. This is absolutely number 1 for me. I cannot live and think and create in clutter. Number 2, it's my marriage. Number 3 is raising good human beings. I take being a mother very, very seriously. Number 4 is my health. And number 5 is my work, which is coaching women and mothers. So step 1 is to identify your big rocks. And then step 2 would be to take intentional and deliberate action on them, right? It's one thing to just dream about things and write them in your journal, and it's a completely different thing to integrate them and make them a part of your life and being. So for example, if you have some relationship crisis, whether it affects your relationship with your significant other, your children, your loved ones, you have got to invest in getting help so that you tend to this first, right? Because it's one of your biggest rocks. Then your next big rock would be anything that is related to money. So it could be anything related to your work, your career, maybe repaying debt, building a business. If that needs attention, you have got to get that straightened out as well. And then your health. So many people take their health for granted, including me sometimes. I think in part that's how it should be, because we should not be constantly thinking about our health. But if there's something that has become chronic, you must take care of that. Simple as that. In this case, this is not a question of whether you can or cannot afford it, because without your health, you literally cannot do anything. You can't create, you cannot help your children, you can't give and be of service, because if you can't get out of bed, you're not in a position to even think about this, right? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First, you have to attend to your most basic and primal needs for food, shelter, and safety. Your body is your temple. It is your house. This is where you live. So that, therefore, this is your rock number one. So please do not fall into the I cannot afford this trap, because you can. Somehow when there are things that matter in our lives, in our life, somehow we find the money to it. Just like I did. Somehow, magically, the money appeared once I made the decision to say yes. So this is your opportunity to be super honest with yourself and first get clear with what are these 5 big rocks of your life, and then take deliberate action and get the help that you need. And so what is that place that in our head, in our body, in the way we live our life, where is saying no to coaching, where is it coming from? Could come from a place of completely, I've never done something like this before. And like I said, it is interpreted as risk by your brain and your being. Another thing, I remember myself when I invested thousands of dollars into coaching. I don't know, I'm a very intuitive person, and so usually I just, now I really own my intuition, but at the time it was just intuition. And I remember when I heard the amount that coach asked for, I was like, oh my God, that's never going to happen, because I definitely could not afford it. And I immediately said, no, I have to talk to my husband. And my husband said no. He told me no. He said, Dorit, this is way, out of our whatever we can afford. And so, sorry, we can't do that. And I don't know, guys, there was something inside of me, this being, like I said, every cell in my body said no. I remember this moment. I'm going to become emotional. But I remember that moment. My husband, who I listen to him more than anybody. Like, I really value his opinion. Plus, at the time, he was the main breadwinner, and so obviously, I had to take his opinion into account, right? And so, but he said no. My body said no. Everything said no. And yet there was this soul craving that whispered that said yes. And I said yes. And you know what? I'm a year and a half after this coaching process experience that I've done, and my life is completely different. And so now, every time I have to hire a coach, it's like the fear is it's different, right? There is still fear, there is still risk involved, but I feel much less of it because I've tried it before. But again, in order to experience that, I had to say yes at some point. And so who did I say yes to? At that point, I said yes to myself. At that point, I said yes to my marriage. At that point, I said yes to my relationship with my children, with my girls. At that point, I said yes to my business. At that point, I said yes to my evolution as a human being, as a woman. At that point, I said yes to higher power, to source energy, right? And it has to come from that place of belief in yourself, of belief that you are worthy, and you know, in order to get somewhere, you need that push. You know, especially if it's a very kind of unknown place you've never done before or never tried before. And so my message for you today, my lovely ladies, is take that into your journal. And every single time you either say yes or no to something that is monetary, right? That you have to invest in. Ask yourself, what is the deeper level of that yes or no? What really am I saying no to? What really am I rejecting and kind of like putting away? Because you know how that works. In your head, it's like, it's okay. No, in 6 months, in a year, and then the time, you know how quickly kids grow. But not only kids grow fast, we also grow really, really fast. Time is something that, you know, it's spinning so quickly. I cannot believe that we are over the end of summer. And of course there's some grieving here, but anyways, I'm rambling. The point here again is ask yourself, what is it that you're saying yes or no to? All right, and let me know if you feel called to share that with me. I would love to listen to you, to hear you. You can always find me on Facebook. I go under Dorit Palvanov. You can also email me. So you can email me at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. Or if you feel like you want to connect with me on a deeper level, and to have a longer conversation with me, actual face-to-face conversation, not live conversation, it's all going to be online, then you're welcome, and I highly encourage you to book a diva date with me. So like I mentioned in previous episodes, it's basically a 45-minute conversation with me where it's all about you, it's all about your health, it's all about your body, your goals, your health goals, your motherhood goals. Where do you see yourself going in your life in the next, let's say, 6 or a year from now? And what is your plan? And I'd be happy to share some of the things that I know. I'll be happy to share, you know, what I do and how I can help. But again, this is not a sales call. This is not the purpose of it. This is really to hold space for you. But if you are interested, I will always, of course, share how it's possible, and if it's possible, you know, if you qualify, if I qualify to help you, all of this can be done on that diva date. Okay, so if you want to book that, you can go to my website. It's www.com. Sorry, what am I saying? www.healthbeginswithmom.com/diva. And there are multiple places on that page where you can book that call with me. And last thing I'm going to leave you with is that Health Begins with Mom Mastery program is coming up. I am working really, really diligently on the application. If this is something that interests you, please, you know, stay tuned. I'm so excited to share this program with you. It is packed with so much transformational, you know, experiences. It's a really transformative program. It's designed to shake you up and to really completely change the way you view your health, the way you understand yourself as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, and all of that is designed to show you that the health of you, the health of your kids, the health of your marriage, the health of the world really begins with us mothers taking the stand and choosing us. All right, so I love you so much. I'm sending you so much love and many, many, many blessings. And I'm also sending you a huge bouquet of healing. And I'll catch you next time. Bye, my love. Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.